Welcome to Marriage Unmasked. Today we are talking about a really big topic. We are talking about when sex feels one-sided. And this might even be somewhat of a triggering topic for a lot of you. I know we've had a lot of issues in this area where, our sex life has felt one-sided at times, and it is an important issue. And it's not about blame, it's not about shaming each other or anything like that. It's really about growing the connection, understanding each other better so that we can connect in this way and make this a really vibrant part of our relationship. And God's design for sex is not just physical. It is also emotional and it's also spiritual. If you go back into the Hebrew, the word that God uses about sex is yada, which means to know your spouse. Adam knew Eve and they became one flesh. So it's not just a physical connection. It is very much a deeply knowing, a deep relational connection, a spiritual connection even between a husband and wife.
Yeah, and we want to really get into the deep part of it, right? Because sometimes you can think that sex is just physical, but it is so much more. And I know for Adam and I, it was it was more. But sometimes when you say one-sided, you might think, like, what does that even mean, right? The stereotypical answer is like the man feels like he's the only one who wants sex. Mm-hmm. His wife never wants sex, right? I get comments about that kind of stuff from men all the time on my reels. And so that's the kind of like the stereotypical thing. It's like where one person maybe feels the pressure, they're initiating, and then that can lead to then rejection. But there's also another side to it where the other person then might even feel used, right? There's a whole other side to it. But so for us, we both do enjoy sex, but it has been a little bit more one-sided. Adam has been the initiator for most of our marriage. And I think the reason why is because we have that masculine feminine balance like so off, right? Mm-hmm. Where I felt like I was leading so much of the relationship. And sex actually was one area that it wasn't like that. This was an area that he actually took leadership in right from the beginning. Not like he had more experience in it or anything. You both came in virgins, but like he was more masculine in that area, and so that was very attractive to me. And I was like, okay, yes, this is good. And so I just have allowed him to lead in that area, and he's done that. So in that way, it's kind of been one-sided, but I haven't felt used or anything like that. I know you've probably experienced some rejection,
right?
And then there have been some moments where I have also felt like I had to initiate, which then was kind of tricky for us because he usually was in that role, right? He was the leader, but there were times in our marriage where my drive was really high and he's struggling with his testosterone, with performing.
And some of that came from the people pleasing too. And it came from insecurity, really. Sometimes like some of the stress and outside things outside of the bedroom, really, they creep in to the bedroom and they cause issues. And that was definitely happening for me, like stress, and I wasn't taking very good care of my body and I was tired. And the people pleasing was a really big part of that too, because I would often really focus on my performance. Like I had to perform really well, but I was so focused on pleasing her and not necessarily focused on pleasing myself. Like, oh, I'm going to get pleasure for sure. But I was really very
I think your identity was wrapped up in,
I think like, so.
You were a success if I was getting pleasure, and you were a failure if I wasn't.
Right. And I think maybe because the dynamic was off in a lot of other areas, I really had felt a lot of pressure to get it right. This was where I really felt powerful and I felt manly and I felt strong and like I had a lot of confidence here. And when that confidence would fade, so that could happen for a lot of reasons, but maybe Cara just wasn't happy with something that I was doing or wanted something different. And then I would sometimes take that personally and be like, oh, I'm not really good at this. And that's not what she meant to do. But I would be so hyper focused on performing that it became just another thing to like check the box, just do it right. And what would happen then is some of the resentment and other things from the relationship would creep in, and I would be like I don't want to put in the effort and all the hard work it's going to be to to please her in this way. So I would look at it as this big task that I had to do instead of this beautiful connecting thing that would bond us again. And so that was also not helping the situation at all. I wasn't pursuing her then. I wasn't going after what I wanted. I was just allowing like the stress of my life and the resentment to just close me down in that area.
Yeah, I mean, I think at times in our marriage, we both felt that one-sidedness, right? There was a time where then I felt like I had to lead and I had to almost like beg. And that was really hard for me. So it's not just a man thing. And there are women, and those of you listening who can relate, you're like, yes. There are times when maybe a woman has a stronger libido or she's really wanting that from her husband, that affection, that intimacy, but he's not giving it. And so it can go either way. But we want to talk about kind of the feelings behind this. And one of the things that can come up is this feeling of being used, where you feel like your emotional needs are overlooked or minimized. And maybe it's like, it's just about your body, right? He just wants your body, or she just wants sex. She doesn't, or he doesn't care about your heart. And so sex kind of can become like a duty, right? Instead of this delight, we want you both to delight in it. And so we never want it to feel for you like this is just a duty. Yeah, well, I don't feel seen in this, or I don't feel treasured, or like I matter, but I'm going to do this because I think this is the right thing to do. I think that was kind of creeping in for you.
That was,
like
yeah, that was
this.
part of the whole problem was I'm like, this is something I need to do instead of something I want to do. There was more pressure to perform. And whenever that creeps in, that there's all this pressure to perform and to do it right or whatever, it's easy to lose that connection, which is what it should be all about.
Yeah, and I mean, for a woman, I think a lot of times if she's not really interested, but she's just doing it because her husband wants her, she's been told, like, you better have sex with your husband when he wants, or he's going to go get it somewhere else, right? Whatever the messaging is. And then you're like, okay, I better do this, right?
And I think our society does
Yeah,
give that message
that
a lot.
is,
And it's not a very healthy message. Like, both should be working on it.
right,
Sure.
yeah. But you don't want to feel like your body is more valuable than your heart and your feelings. And I think that's what a lot of times that person who's feeling used can be thinking. And so this can create shutdown if you're feeling used, right? This can create shutdown, resentment, like Adam was talking about, disconnection, loss of attraction, even. When you don't feel seen and your heart doesn't feel accepted, or they're not interested in what's going on inside of you, you feel like they're just interested in your body or what they can get from you, like that is not going to breed attraction. Real intimacy, it requires emotional safety, right? It really does. You want to feel like you can open your heart, like you can be vulnerable, and it's safe to do that. If you don't feel safe to open your heart, you're not going to feel safe to open your body, right? And you're not going to be interested in that. You might do it out of this supposed belief that it's your duty, but it's not going to be pleasurable. It's not a delight, and we want you to delight in it. So it is so important to get that heart connection, right? Have that before it gets physical.
Yeah. Another way that this shows up is in feeling rejected. And that's one that a lot of men and some women too, I mean, and Cara's felt that too in our relationship at times. And I felt it as well. But a rejected feeling is like you're constantly feeling like the other person is saying no, that they don't want you, that they're not interested in you in that way. You're not feeling pursued or desired. Another way people often feel rejected then is not feeling enough. That was something I felt often, was I just didn't feel like I was enough. And that crept into the bedroom. Like I said, like that was a feeling I had outside of it. And when that got into the bedroom, that's when I really felt rejected. And there were times I was trying to make a move and Cara wasn't interested, not necessarily not interested, but maybe the way I was bringing it up, the way I was trying to
Initiate.
the way I was trying to initiate sex with her just wasn't a turn on for her. It wasn't really drawing her in. And that's not right or wrong, right? But I would start to feel rejected then because she didn't seem into me. And as I keep trying, and it's nothing seems to be, working, then I would start to feel rejected and I would start to shut down and I would actually start to turn my heart off to the whole process of having sex. And that was, that was painful for her too, because she actually would want it, so she would feel rejection and I would feel rejection at the same time.
Yeah, and rejection is just such a painful emotion. And I think that the reason why it comes up so much around sex is because this is deeply personal, right? Sex, it's this incredibly beautiful gift from God. Like when you're enjoying it, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it gets really painful, right? When these things get off and where one person does feel like they're not enough. And I know I felt that, and I don't normally feel like I'm not enough for Adam, but in like when I felt like he didn't want me, then it was like major pain, right? I was like, what's wrong with me? I'm thinking in my head, like, what man, and he's telling me he's attracted to me and all these things. So what man doesn't want his wife? Right. So I'm like, there's got to be something wrong with me. Or he's off doing something else.
That's so sad. And there was nothing. I wasn't off doing anything else.
No.
But I mean, I think my heart was just so shut down.
It's the pain, and it can trigger each other even, right? Like he was saying, then he's feeling not enough, and then he's shutting down, and then him shutting down to me is like triggering to me, like, oh, he doesn't want me. And so, the pain can feed off of each other. And so it's just, we're wanting to bring some awareness so that you know how to communicate through this, understand what's going on, understand that you're not abnormal if you're struggling with sex and it feeling one-sided, or it seems like big pain is coming up. Actually, feeling rejected, I think, leads to a lot of people separating and getting a divorce, because you're opening yourself up. It's such a vulnerable place, and then to get rejected over and over, it's deeply painful. And you see men withdraw from the relationship, or women withdraw from the relationship when they feel this, and sometimes they go to somewhere else, right? They do. That is the fact, right? If they're feeling rejected, they're trying to protect themselves again, right, from pain. It's their nervous system, honestly, saying like, I don't want to experience that again. And I understand that, right? Like that makes sense, that you don't want to just keep putting yourself out there only to feel rejected over and over again. So you might go outside of your marriage, you might go to porn. And I'm not saying that's okay, absolutely not. It is more important to talk about this, to get really open and share how you feel. If you're feeling rejected, use those words, right? Like, I feel rejected. Maybe you haven't had that kind of conversation yet. You've just assumed they understand that you feel rejected. We're going to talk more about how to move forward from this, but when you're feeling rejected, it can lead to this belief that love is conditional and you have to perform a certain way to get that love. And that also is just so painful. I think especially when you're talking about men, that their desire for sex is often a cry for closeness and affirmation, right? And I'm not saying that women don't desire sex or anything like that, but I think there's a special, I don't know how you would even describe it.
Yeah. A man who doesn't feel desired, it's a blow to your masculinity in some ways too.
And maybe respect is
respect is definitely involved too, because rejection really strikes at the heart of respect as well. Because one thing that a man is always crying out for subconsciously is to know that he is enough, to know that he has what it takes. And rejection strikes at the heart of that in a man, because now it's basically saying that the person that is closest to me is basically telling me over and over again, you don't have what it takes. You're not enough for me. And it's very easy to get that message, even if she's not trying to send that message. It's just that message is received often by men.
Yeah, and so it is so important to talk about this. And we want to kind of talk about like, what is underneath this disconnect? Why is there this one-sided where one person's feeling rejected, the other person might be feeling used, right? Often it's not about sex. It's about unmet needs. And sometimes we don't even know what we need. So we don't express what we need because we don't even know what we need. So it starts with really understanding what are your needs, right? And asking yourself the question, like, are you emotionally connected? That's one of the big ones, right? If you're not feeling emotionally connected, then somebody's probably feeling used and someone's probably feeling rejected, right? Is anyone feeling disrespected or unseen? That's another great question to ask. And you can even ask your spouse, like, are you feeling disrespected, right? Or are you feeling unseen? And listen, really listen to understand. I know sometimes the pain will then come out when given a platform, but try not to take it personally, right? And just listen to understand. Listen like you're an investigator. Like where's the pain? What is she saying or he saying? What's underneath? Where's that coming from? Also, you can ask like, have you lost the friendship? Because that friendship that you have is often this beautiful connection where you do feel seen by your spouse, and you guys are enjoying each other and having fun.
A lot of men talk about too with me when I'm working with men is they've lost the fun in the relationship. And that is part of this, because if they're not having fun with their wife anymore, they're not doing fun things, they're not enjoying that time together, man can also feel rejected in that, and that can be disconnecting. And
another question is like, are there any unhealed wounds, right? Or unresolved issues? I know that has impacted our closeness. When there's been unresolved issues and Adam's just like, he seems fine with it, right? Like, okay, we're fine. And I'm like, no, there's an unresolved issue. Like I cannot move forward.
That's important for men to realize that too. It's important for us as men to like resolve these issues and to recognize that there's a reason why she's feeling shut down or she's giving you a certain energy. Is maybe there's something unresolved that really needs to be brought out into the open and talked about.
So what can you do about this issue? How can you move forward? Well, let's start with the person who's feeling used. If you're feeling that way, there's a key question to ask. Am I protecting myself or am I possibly punishing them, right? Because there's hurt there, there's pain underneath. And you're feeling unseen, or maybe those needs that you have are going unmet. And so it's very easy for us to even subconsciously, try to punish our spouse. Like, no, I'm not going to open my heart up to you. Like, no, I'm not interested in this. Or is there really a legitimate, right, unmet need where you are just protecting yourself? You're like, no, I'm not going to open myself up to you because you haven't pursued my heart first, right? So that's kind of a good question to ask to get some awareness around that. And then discuss it, right? Discuss it with your spouse. Like, how do they feel when you say no? That maybe even opens the door for them to feel safe to let you know how they're feeling, and communicate your needs, right? Maybe they don't even know, and maybe you don't even know what your needs are. So first get really clear about that, and then communicate them in a really healthy way. This is key because a lot of times this can trigger defensiveness, shutdown when we express our needs. And I did a whole communication masterclass on this exact topic, and you're going to love it. So if you haven't already listened to the masterclass, definitely check the link out. We'll put it in the show notes. But that's a really, really important video to watch through. Absolutely. To help you to express these very sensitive topics in a way where you're not going to, kind of trigger those insecurities and that pain in your spouse.
And then if you are feeling rejected, ask, am I pursuing their heart or am I pursuing just their body? Like that's a good question to dig down into, because that really gets to the heart of the issue. If you are just pursuing their body, then there's something missing in that connection, and she's going to feel that, obviously, or he, if it's the other way around. Mm-hmm. So yes, am I pursuing their heart? Am I really going for a connection there, or am I just pursuing their body? And then what you want to do is you want to discuss with them, what is it that helps you feel safe and connected to me? Like, that's information that you need to know. If you don't know that information, you're not going to be able to make that environment where they feel safe and connected to you. So you got to ask that question. And so when you're having this discussion, you are both going after healing together. You're both going after connection again, and really listening to understand each other, being open-minded and really taking in what they're saying and taking it to heart, so that you can come up with a plan forward to help them feel safe in the relationship. And that healing, it's not easy, right? This isn't, sometimes the word healing, it sounds like it's so simple, or it's like, oh, so beautiful, healing. But it's hard, right? It's hard, and it can be confusing. And that's why Adam and I, we have support available for you. He has his refined group for men. I have restored for women. And we offer you one-on-one coaching and guidance and support. And you're surrounded by this community of men or women that really get it. They're in the trenches with you. They're working on healing as well. And it can just be really, really helpful to have that around you when you are working on these things. And it is a beautiful thing to go after. And we can't wait for you to experience the transformation that comes
when you do this work that's, hard, but so, so good. So we'd love to hear if you guys have any questions, any feedback on the episode. I know this is a sensitive topic. I know there's a lot of pain underneath it. And it's okay. It's okay for you to process that out. Feel these emotions, right? Feel this out. Allow yourself to process it, especially in a safe place like with God. And if you need us, we're here for you. So if this was helpful, please share the podcast, tag us, rate and review it. We would love that. We'd love to hear your feedback.